Okay.
You've been learning a lot about our nutritional supplements, and I've been with don't stop it. Don't stop it. Just edit this out, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you've been learning a lot about our nutritional supplements. I've been with Trinont for about 6 months, and I came into Trinont with health problems. So that was my main focus. However, Annette has been with Trinont for a couple of years, and Trinont actually started out as a wealth education company. So she's going to share with you today some of the amazing tools that are available to help you with your finances. We know that when people are sick, the number one thing that gets impacted is their finances. And when people are financially stressed out, we know that it affects their health. So we want to serve both parts of you, the health side and the wealth side. So Annette is going to share that with you now.
Great. So thank you. I am really excited. I have to tell you that the financial education that Trinont started with as they worked to bring into phases all the things that they wanted to help us with health and wealth and giving back to our communities, did start with the wealth tools. And they were so exciting to me because I recognize, and I think if we all think about it, we recognize the fact that financially America is really in a bad spot. A lot of countries are. We just aren't taught the financial tools that we really need in order to be successful financially in our lives. And when you think about it, it's a lot like a game of Monopoly. I tell people all the time, I grew up with these older brothers. I was one of the middle to younger siblings. They all knew the rules. They only told them to me as it mattered. They could just slaughter me in Monopoly. And I never understood how to do it until they'd all gone off to college and who was going to play with me anymore. And sometimes it feels like we're in that same place in our real life, struggling with our finances. Most of us learn our financial strategy from our parents. And for some of us, that might be good. And for some of us, that might not be the best example of how to learn everything from, how to make the money last to the end of the month to how do I plan for my future and how do I plan for my children's college and whatever those other things are in your life, it can really be a difficult thing to learn. And then on top of that, we watch the headlines, we see the news, we see the magazines, we see that top 5% of people in America who seem to have all the money. And even when you hear a story about them losing it all, 6 months later, they're back on top with all their money again. It's like, how is this happening? What is it they know that we don't understand? What is it somebody has taught them? What tools is it that they have access to? And our financial education side of our company is based on that information, that knowledge, and those tools that top 5% has and has had for generations. And as we learn what those things are and we start to implement them, we will have a generational effect in our families and in our lives for how we can actually be in a better place financially, actually build a financial strategy, actually fix things from the past that are broken, and actually help our children to be better placed than we have been, and them help their children and so forth. And so for me, this was very exciting. This was just a wonderful thing that I could use to help so many other people. And so I just want to kind of spend a few minutes just sharing with you some of the key things we go into. Of course, to sit down with someone and help them completely change where they've been, where they are now, and get them to where they want to go, we need to sit down and spend a little more time with things. But just a quick little overview of what that can look like starts with us understanding where is your money going now, and kind of cataloging that, figuring that out. For some people, that's a little uncomfortable, but it's kind of like when you get a cut and you've got to wash it off and you've got to put a little antiseptic on it, but then it gets better and it's a wonderful thing afterwards. And so we just start with people, we get a little bit of a feel for where you've been, where you want to go, and then with that we make sure that we can put into place the right tools for you so that you can have the success, have the experiences that you need and that you want with your finances and with your financial strategy and where you want to take your family. So understanding, what's happening in the current household on average for their money. The current household average is $56,000 a year, and we're finding as we go through this process with people, kind of figuring out where you're starting from and where you're going, that there's a lot of money that's slipping through the cracks that we didn't know, the average person didn't know could be done differently, and other tools to put into play. But the average savings that we're helping people with in just the initial steps of our process is as much as 10% in understanding their budget and putting some of that money back into their monthly budget. And the way we do that, getting, as much as $100 a month back into your household, think about what that could be. I know a lot of times at the end of the month, when we were raising our young children, I can remember thinking, oh, I just needed 100 more this month to take care of things and do what we needed. So we work with you to start with that strategy, but some really important facets. Part of what those 5% at the top have is other tools in place that are behind the scenes. Identity theft protection. Think about it. We hear about it in the news all the time. It is the fastest growing crime in the world. And there's not a lot of hope for stopping it because it doesn't happen in someone's car when they're not looking, where there might have been witnesses standing by. It doesn't happen where a home is broken into and fingerprints are left. It's happening mostly in the cyber world, mostly taking place from our electronic devices, from our debit cards and hacking the institutions that have those things. It's happening on our phones. It's happening all around us when we're not looking, and there are no borders. It's happening around the world. Every 1.9 seconds, somebody becomes a victim of identity theft, and your chances of becoming a victim are increasing even beyond these statistics here. Some of you remember a couple of years ago when Equifax security was breached and 47% of US adults had their personal information exposed in that data breach alone. And it goes from there. And something that's really surprising and shocking to learn is the average age of a person whose identity has been stolen or has had things tampered with. You're going to think, well, maybe it's the senior citizens because they're not paying attention, they're not savvy in these things, but that's not the case. It's actually children under the age of 12 that this is happening, because in actuality nobody's monitoring that. So to kind of bring this back down, it's really out of our control in a lot of ways, but there are means and methods out there that can give us additional protection to help protect us. And we have a service that offers some intense monitoring and assistance with our identity, with our electronic devices, locking them down and making them secure, making our transactions more secure, monitoring our accounts and things for us, and providing $1 million of insurance, because for you to use, to put into play if something does happen. Because for any of you who know someone, maybe it was yourself or someone you love who has experienced identity theft protection, it's very consuming, very expensive. And if you work in the financial world, you could lose your job being a victim of identity protection just while the company you work for has to protect their interests to make sure that that breach hasn't gone any further and expose the company. So, long story short, if you're not losing your job because of your standing in a financial institution when somebody hacks you or identity theft takes place, you may have to take more time off your job to sort through the mess, to go to court, to go to appointments, to resolve these issues. And that results in a loss of income. That can result in a loss of a job. The stress, the anxiety, the expenses involved in what you have to put out to resolve this matter. $1 million in identity theft protection goes a long way in resolving these things and taking care of the loved ones. So you get all of these things to help you to monitor your situation, to put things into place so that you can be alerted if something questionable is happening with your finances, with your money, with your holdings, with your reputation. And it's not always just your money. There's medical records. Medical stealing, medical identity stealing is huge in the business. You're going to get tech support, live, unlimited. These guys are like your geek squad. I mean, they'll even help you with your Windows for Dummies type questions and trying to figure out how to Skype with your grandchildren. And they're just wonderful, but they're there to protect you and they're there to serve you and to review your electronic devices. Because again, think about it. Most of the identity theft taking place in the world is happening due to our electronic devices. So if you had tech support that was helping you lock those down and keep those clean and monitor those, that's going to go a long ways in your identity theft protection too. There's a whole nother facet of this that even goes into social media monitoring. Imagine being able to be alerted if something were to happen in your children's social media. We hear in the headlines, social media bullying. We worry about what plans our children may be making for the weekends, versus what they're telling us. And not that we want to, be in every conversation they have, but there are ways to monitor things. So keywords and key situations and key threats can be at our fingertips as parents, and we can sleep better and we can let our children walk out that door and feel a little better about things. So all of this comes into play in one package. And if you were to compare this to, say, LifeLock, you would be looking at a package that is far more expensive than ours, that ours matches and even supersedes in many areas. So a lot of that information is available on the Health Wealth community to compare these things and learn more about it. Another important tool that the wealthy people use, people who are realizing their financial goals and dreams and living them, have put into play is a little thing we call TaxBot. And I just want to say, I'm not opposed to paying taxes by any stretch of, the imagination. I'm an American. I realize that taxes are necessary to provide some of the wonderful things that we enjoy here in our country. But I am opposed to paying more than my fair share. And so imagine having an app on your phone that you could pull up when you needed, that could help you to pay just your fair share and not be so encumbered by the worry and the rest of it. So something that is monitoring you and helping you with your income tax, property tax, your FICA, sales tax, capital gains. When you add up all these taxes, people are paying over 30% of their income in taxes. And again, that goes back to, I don't mind paying, but I don't want to pay more than my fair share. I don't think any of us do. And so this adds up to a lot of taxes, a lot of tax dollars that people are paying. And if we understood how to actually utilize the laws that were written for us and to protect us, there are ways that we can be putting that money back into our monthly budgets and doing other things with them. So like I said, this comes down to an app on our phones. Now, I will tell you, this app was actually invented by a gentleman named Sandy Botkin. So I love that name, TaxBot, Sandy Botkin, all about our taxes. But the backstory on Sandy is pretty amazing because Mr. Botkin himself is actually an attorney and was one of the lead audit trainers for the IRS, which makes him, on that pretense, my worst enemy on the planet because I have been audited 7 times. But on the other hand, made him my new best friend. When I saw him in person the first time I went to a large presentation about these financial tools, and he stood live in front of me and explained this app and how it works. And I came to realize that for all 7 of those audits, which I passed, by the way, but was grueling and consuming and mounted to, resulted in boxes and boxes, Apple boxes of receipts and files and things that, thankfully I had saved. So they were there to testify to my tax returns when I needed. But imagine all of that already being organized in the fashion that the IRS looks for them in and stored via an app on your phone into the cyber cloud, so that instead of carrying boxes and boxes into these federal buildings, when I was audited time after time after time, digging through them and things, it was all right there in this app to work for me. And the other really exciting thing for me was that I look at this and I look at today's world and think about it. When you go back to find a receipt because you do need to do a return, or you realize you forgot to turn that one into your boss for reimbursement, if much more than 6 weeks or so has gone by, can you even read that receipt anymore? It's just a strip of blank paper. And that is not going to fly. I will tell you personally, that is not going to fly with the IRS. You can't hold up a bunch of blank pieces of paper and say, this is good. So I love this app. This has saved my life. It lets me sleep at night while I continue to do things the way that I know are correct and true for my taxes. I know that everything that I need there is ready to back me up when I face these auditors that Mr. Botkin himself trained, when I walk in there with Mr. Botkin's app and know that that's that much more money I can be putting back into my family's life and into my financial strategy. So like I said, audit-proofing your records, automatically tracking your mileage. That was one of the huge things for me as I was trying to track and maintain my business deductions, was getting out that little ledger book out of my glove box and writing down my miles every time I got in and out of the car for business. And this app turns on and does that for you. And you swipe to the screen when it's done recording your mileage. You swipe to the right if you want to keep it as a business expense. You swipe to the left if it wasn't a business expense. But for any of you who have ever been in business for yourselves before, especially in something like what you've learned about so far in this company, can you imagine how it wouldn't be a tax write-off everywhere you go and everyone you talk to and every time you're sharing? So it's fantastic. So I love that. And this is putting so much money back into people's monthly budgets because it's saving us on taxes we thought we needed to pay that in truth we didn't, and deductions that we now understand and feel comfortable taking and putting that money back into our budgets. And with that, we also have legal services. This website was just a fun resource I found that backs up some research done that, you know, the average American needs 3 hours of legal advice each year. Well, I live in California, and I don't know what Darlene's legal fees are over there where DJ lives, but I know in California where I live, it is way more than $300 per hour to consult with an attorney to find out if I needed the attorney and if he could do for me what I needed to help me with situations, whether it's a situation at work, whether it's a situation with a neighbor, a traffic accident, you know, what have you. Things come up, things happen. And we're not looking to sue people, but we need to protect what's ours. We need to protect our families. We need to protect our businesses and our homes. And frankly, Googling it is really not the best answer. We all know the jokes about, well, I read it on the internet, so it must be true. And we all know it's not. We know that's risky. And we know that we really do need solid, sound legal advice. And so to know that we can have that, and to know that we can have legal advice when we need it, letters and phone calls on our behalf, contract and document review. You could set up your trust, your wills, your estates. You could set up legal entities, your LLCs and your corporations for your business, and really truly protect your family from, let's face it, there are predators out there. And if we're not protected, then we're at risk. And when we're at risk, we're risking our families and everyone else we love too. So having that is important. The other thing that I love about that tax app I was mentioning is at the end of the year, I can press an upload button in my app and I can send all of those receipts, all of that information, all of that mileage, all of my other things, all of the home expenses that I've had, you know, times the square footage of my office in my home and blah, blah, blah. And I can upload all of this to my tax accountants that Trinont has for us, and they will prepare my taxes for me. If I've been with their services for 6 months or more out of the year, they'll do that return for me for free. If I have additional businesses and entities or have been with them less than 6 months, it's a small fee, but trust me, it's less than I've paid all those other years for all my taxes and business write-offs for the things that I've been involved in. It's way, way more solid returns, way, way more sleep at night, peace of mind, and knowing that I am utilizing every dollar that is mine to put back into my family and my financial strategy, and not losing it to things that I don't have control over or don't agree with, or that shouldn't have my money in the first place. So I love our tax services. On average, this is putting, $430, saving people $430 a year on what they would have spent for their tax preparation services every year. So that's fantastic. Again, the goal with our wealth tools is to educate you and to help you decide what you want to do with your money and keep more of it, to make those decisions, not just feel like every time you turn around, something has, drawn and sucked more money out of your financial strategies and kept your family and you from those dreams that you deserve. Another really, really important thing for people to understand is credit. It's true that we either pay credit or we earn credit. We can either be a slave to credit or it can be a slave to us. And the way that we do that, I can take this back to that Monopoly game and not understanding the rules. The credit industry, what's our credit score? You need a higher credit score. Your interest rate's going to be high. You're never going to get it low, blah, blah, blah. It's just like that nightmare game of Monopoly where you just don't understand the rules. And it's so complex, and there's so many little secrets and things about it. Just makes it so impossible. If you've had anything happen in your life that has precluded you from being able to have a credit score of over 760, 780, some even up into the 800s. Maybe it was an illness that caused you to lose your job or take excessive time off work. Maybe it was the medical bills. Maybe your family has been through a divorce. Maybe you've just been unemployed for, all those reasons that happen. Maybe you just didn't learn good sound practices and you got in a little over your head, or your student loans mounted up and you just don't know what to do. But for whatever reason, you found yourself in a place where your credit scores are low, and now you're paying really high charges for those student loans, or your car, or your house, or you can't get a house, or you can't get a car because you're so in debt and your credit score is so low you can't afford what the interest rates are causing those payments to be. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many people. We're just not taught these rules. We're not taught these things. We're not taught the strategies that we need. And with our partnership with National Credit Care, we'll sit you down and we'll start at the beginning. We'll start at the beginning with what you have for information, where you are, what we need to train you in, what we need to help you with, what needs to happen with that, and be able to actually help you raise your credit scores and put yourself and your family in a position where you can have a financial strategy that you're in control of. If you're not understanding how your credit score affects your life, let's just do some scenarios here. And again, depending on where you live in the country, these averages may vary, but we're going to use these as kind of a medium across the United States. So the average credit card balance per home, believe it or not, is about $15,000. And the average interest rate people are paying on those cards is, let's say it's 15.9%. Every time you make that $500 a month payment or whatever you're doing on that credit card, $199 and some change is going to pay the interest rate. So it's not bringing down the amount of money you owe. It's paying because you borrowed the money, but not paying for the money you borrowed. If you had an excellent credit score, your interest rate, that same card, that same company, that same debt, could be as low as 7.99%. That means for every $500 or $600 payment you're paying, you see how much less is going to pay for the use of that money, which means much more is paying off the balance of that money. A difference of $95 and some change monthly in your budget just off your credit cards. Now let's say you've also got an auto loan in your home, and you have a credit score that's, under 750 points or whatever, you may be paying an interest rate of 6.45%. You may have an even more challenged credit score, and you may have had to take out a car loan just to get to work to take care of your family, where you may be up in the 15 to 20% interest rate bracket. It's not unheard of. It happens, and it may have happened to you. But let's just go with a 6.45%, roughly 6.5% interest rate on that car loan right now. $145 a month is just going to pay for borrowing that money. And if you could improve your credit score and lower the interest rate on that car loan, then you're looking at only $65 a month and some change, saving $180 a month. That's back in your pocket. What could that be doing for you and your family? Then let's look at a mortgage. Same thing. If you have a low credit score and you're paying a high interest rate, then that home loan that may be, $1,600 a month, $600 and some change is just paying the bank for borrowing money. Only $1,000 is maybe paying off the actual balance of that loan. But if you had a higher credit score, then you would be paying less interest, and there's another $160 in this example that goes back into your family. If you looked at that on a month-to-month basis, you could be putting $337.63 back into your monthly budget. What would an additional $330 some odd dollars do back in your monthly budget every month? And what if we had that effect on what you're paying in taxes? How much is being withheld from your paycheck? What if we could adjust what's being withheld from your paycheck a couple $100, like we talked before in the tax services? See how we can be putting money back in your monthly budget so that you can then pay down other expenses, or you could start a wealth plan. And that's really one of my favorite topics. Another thing just kind of on the side that we have that couples in with our health products, if you buy those in certain combinations, this is thrown in. This is just a really phenomenal, we kind of downplayed a little too much, but it's medical triage. It's an app on your phone, again, that puts you in touch with licensed nurses and doctors that can help you with urgent care needs. And when you think about it, 85% of what goes into the urgent care or emergency room after hours that, some of you may have some huge deductibles on or have no coverage for, 85% of those things could have been handled over a video conference call with a nurse. And on the occasion that it required a doctor or a prescription, then that's kind of a step 2 in this service. But step 1 in this service, that initial video conference call with a licensed nurse who has access to your medical record, would result in no charge, just an answer to a solution that you needed. Maybe you're a single mom, or your husband works night shift. Kids always get sick in the middle of the night. You got to wake all 4 up to take one to the urgent care, and then they all come home with whatever bacteria was passing around that urgent care room, and now you're all out for the next week. Or you could leave all of your babies asleep in bed, and while you're just rocking the one in the rocking chair that's sad, and your husband's doing his late night shift, or you're all alone with not even that as an option, you're on the phone video conferencing with the nurse. They can look at your child. They can tell you what to do, what to feel, what to look for. They can guide you through that and let you know if you need to call someone in to sit with the kids and go into urgent care, or go pick up a prescription at the nearby pharmacy, or if you can all rest at ease. I mean, just think about it. It goes so many different ways. Again, if you go into Health Wealth Community, you're going to find stories. I have one I need to post. I haven't posted yet, but it saved me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for singing on stage at Carnegie Hall, because had I not had that, I would have had to cancel being in that performance that day. And, what an amazing thing for me. So that being said, These are all things that help us to be better prepared, because face it, when you have to go to the emergency room or you don't take care of a health need, it can become even more expensive and more impactful in your life. Or you can have to pay those extra medical bills for emergency room and emergency room doctors and things, for things you could have handled otherwise if you just had the resource. There's money back into your financial strategy again. There's time. There's hard to put a value on that one in particular, but I promise you it is saving people money and saving people a lot of peace of mind. And again, that takes us back to a financial strategy. When we talk about wealth, when we talk about getting to that top 5%, where those people that are in the headlines always seem to just bounce back up to, no matter how hard they fell, they at the top and they bounce down and boing, they're back at the top again. That comes with actually getting these other things into place using tools like we've talked about here, and then having access to a true wealth specialist, somebody trained and licensed in helping you understand the financial tools that can take all those little bits and pieces that we've shown you how to pull out of your budget, put back into your monthly finances, and redirect that into a financial strategy that will actually take you up that road, up that hill to your hopes and dreams, so that you can experience the benefits of financial strategies, investments, retirement options. I know for my husband and myself, we were very blessed when we learned of this company. The wealth tools excited us, but we've been very blessed to be raised in a home where we were taught a lot of these things. We've been blessed to have tools like this to have access to and have understanding, and blessed to have not had something so catastrophic as to have devastated our credit scores and had us take time to rebuild. But what we hadn't had was a financial strategy in place. We'd gone places, we'd tried working with the professionals you hear on the radio, you see on the talk shows, you know, they're the big headliners. But quite frankly, I was blessed to be able to be a stay-at-home mom raising 5 children. We made that choice so that I could do that, and we lived off just one income that my husband provided. That was great, but didn't really leave a whole lot left over at the end of the month for any of those big name companies to really let us have an appointment. Frankly, they said, if you don't have $10,000 in liquid assets, you know, we don't have time for you. You know, go find somebody else or go open a bank account or open a CD. Well, we knew that wasn't the long-term answer. We knew there were more tools, but we couldn't get through that door, seemingly, until we found this company. And somebody explained to us and took the time to sit down with us. And in just a few hours, as we laid out where we had been, what we had, what our dreams and goals were, this person helped us to understand we did have options. And we put together, with this person's guidance and expertise, some licensed financial products that you can read about and know these companies and their background, you know, and see them for yourself, but taught us how to use them and how to put them into play for our lives. And as we talked about that strategy, and we talked about where we had come from, where we were, where we wanted to be, and what we hoped for in our retirement, when that retirement would happen, and what we would be able to do with our goals and our dreams, we thought we were limited. But this person was able to show us a different option, and in just a short time had us on that path. And between using these principles and following this plan and the other things that we've done in Trinant that we can talk about another time, we not only closed our retirement gap by 6 years, we're retiring 6 years earlier, but the financial capabilities that we will have at our hands to be able to spend those special moments with our grandchildren and with one another, and do the church missions, if you don't mind me mentioning that in this, and give to the things that we've always wanted to give to, is dramatically more than we ever thought would be possible. And so we love this, and I urge you to take some more time to learn about the financial education and tools of Trinant and what it could do for you. Just imagine having some of that money put back in your monthly budget, and then imagine somebody showing you what more could be done with that and how it could change your life and your future. So thank you for letting me share this with you, DJ.
Well, thank you, Annette. That was wonderful. And I just wanted to let you know that right from the beginning, I engaged in the financial tools and have used them and have really appreciated them. Some of the tools that we're using right now, I have used I've bought from different companies in the past, and I've been able to reduce, I was already doing, identity theft protection, and I was already doing a legal retainer, and the money I'm saving is just tremendous. And so I'm really appreciating those. So thank you, everyone. I know that this was a little bit long, but I think that this is really important education for you. And I hope that you really, really enjoyed it and that you would like to take a closer look. Thank you.